they are again in school, they expect the society to teach them again. It's not the mini time you are in school rather than the time you are at school. So I don't know how we are going to build the society. And 3 days later, what is so big that you can transform it? I've been here for the last 4 months. They will expect the society to change with something that has developed in that school. The Ministry of Education, the school administration itself, and I think the prefects are also the same. And today when I go to the dining hall, I think food is not enough. Food is not it. I decide to go to the deputy and report to them. I already know the kind of answer I'm going to do. Caroline, did you come to school to eat or to run? I already know the kind of answer. So the poor communication between the school, that is the administration, and the student is the cause of everything.
Yes, so thank you, the speaker. So I would like to support my concerning the issue that was brought on board. And personally, I feel like and I believe that the communication or the relationship between the school management and the students who are in the school is one of the great causes of why we are having the response. Because again, I understand that every time a decision is made or every time something is brought on board, it must have some effect on us, either positively or negatively. So when a decision is made in the school and I'm supposed to react back, I might react negatively or positively depending on how I feel about the same decision. So I feel like when the management or the school brings in or makes a decision on my behalf, because maybe I don't have the power to make that decision, I have to react back. And I feel that what we are getting is per now, when we're getting schools banned, the students going to strike, and every sort of damage that they're causing on board is just a very open reaction to what they feel about what is happening in their normal grounds in the institutions. So we or the government or everything else might not feel what the students feel on the ground, but the students themselves feel exactly, and that is why they react back. Maybe just as Carol said, when they go to report back and to air out their views concerning the decision that was made, they are not being listened. Maybe because the management feels like they don't have that power to pause that view. But when the students react back now, we are supposed, or the society, the government, and everything else is supposed now to go deep and understand why they are reacting back to a certain issue or a certain decision. So that is my view. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Speaker, for the opportunity. For me, I want to give thank you to my honorable members, because as per now, the unrest has gone to has worsened. Because now, in the last previous, several years back, we were hearing of strikes. This time now, it has become banning of dormitories and the destruction of property. For me, I can see that the students are under pressure because we all know that this academic calendar has not been like the way it has been sometimes back, and a lot of things have changed. Now the teachers are rushing cover and catch up with the syllabus. The students are undergoing abnormal, teaching. And that's why they are responding to this by this banning of schools, destruction of property, and again the use of mobile phones in school. We find that most of the schools we find students sneaking mobile phones. And that's why we are hearing many schools being banned at the same time. You can hear a school in Kakamega today, a school in Baringo at the same time because of the communication we are having. So this is at a pressure. Students are at pressure. We can put ourselves in their shoes and see what they are going to. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and one of the members. Allow me to contribute to this debate and say that the main brain goes to the government. We've seen that in all sectors, students are felt to be involved in making policies. You can attest to this that all the policies that students follow in schools are from the top down. The government brings policies so that we can follow. You can attest to this that the organization of the parents. The parents have got organizations that bring complaints to the government whenever schools raise school fees. So to me, I feel that students need to have that organization that should be taking their complaints to the government. There is a school that in Nyeri County, the students peacefully told the administration that we just want to go home. We just want to go home. So I tend to believe that if there is an organization for all students with a representation, maybe the communication would be so clear that if there are issues that are affecting students, they can be clearly heard by these administrations. There are those the organizations that the parents have for all students in Kenya, that if the schools hike school fees, the parents come together and complain. There was the period that the parents were taking students to school. This organization complained. The organization complained of the high cost of living that is affecting the books were not affordable to students. So I believe if the students are allowed to have an organization for all students, the secondary students, I believe the communication and the issues affecting them would be so clear that if there is anything that they feel need to be changed, either to the government or the Ministry of Education, can easily be tackled. Thank you so much.
Yes, again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, first of all, I'd like to start with the fact that Karimara Boys High School in Nyeri on 24th, it was banned. Reason being, they were not allowed to watch a match between Liverpool and Manchester United. This does not need rocket science to understand that there is no government to blame here. It is totally the administration and the whole total school administration. We have seen teachers and principals, they run these schools like dictatorships. As our member there said, in our schools, there is a lot of bureaucracy. When you want to air your views, there are a lot of channels for you to air your views. But then, we understand that for us who have had a chance to study deviance, at some point, its main, one of the advantages, it shows that there is a problem, there is a gap in the social structure. Therefore, I think having more than 50 schools being banned, it shows clearly that there is a problem, but the problem is with the administration. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to also say that I am proud of these pupils because unlike us, they are not afraid. They have refused to subscribe to this dictatorship, and I'm really looking forward to having them out here so that we can take back our country. They are our next mashujaa. Also, Mr. Speaker, I also tend to agree.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
If someone is telling a quick corner, one is going to sit down. Seriously. Mr. Speaker is very. I don't know how to put it, Mr. Speaker. You cannot tell me somebody burning the school, somebody hosting my brother's life, and that is a shujaa. In which country are we in, Mr. Speaker? Is that the kind of reasoning that we have brought these people today, Mr. Speaker? There is no sense in that, Mr. Speaker. So let the member withdraw that statement, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, that's not allowed.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to say back then when our grandfathers were fighting, it was not legal. They were killing people. So, Mr. Speaker, in the United States of America, so slaves uprising, they killed their masters. It was illegal, but it was not right. It just shows that there is a problem that needs to be addressed. Mr. Speaker, to finalize, I'd like to, Mr. Speaker, that is what we call learned helplessness. It's a psychological problem. Mr. Speaker, finally, I'd like to.
Yes, order.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so in my statement, I'd also like to say that I agree with Mr. Matiang'i, Mr. Magoha. When these students return back to their school,
And then we pass to our public secretary in the right terms.
Honorable Speaker, my fellow honorable member has utterly disrespected the Cabinet Secretary for Education by calling him Mr. Magoha. Professor Magoha. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, let me finish. He's also a Mr. I'd like to agree. Mr. Speaker, I will prove. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to agree with Professor Magoha when he saying, when these students return, we have not seen them burn their buses, they are not burning kitchens where there is a fire. If need be, let them sleep under the trees. Thank you.
Yes, that's a decision that of the house. We have our consulted the house, they are very, very enough. That's why we are getting, so we are now on the bad some
in my own opinion,
is this allowed? It's allowed because we are
is the answer?
Yes.
Okay, in my own opinion, I want to blame the beginning of the Ministry of Education for the policies. We have a CS, another as a CS. Is it? Whatever. The CS is an aladdin. Is forcing policies on our students, young students, because we cannot have students being in school for three months and we call it a term. No breaks, 4 days break. That is not reasonable. They need a break. Number two, I'd like to blame also the parents. We are the parents. Actually, I'm a parent. And it is not logical because if we take a look, how many of us here are participating in sporting activities? We are just watching TVs and movies and everything, being on the social media. And that is what our students are talking. So when they are in school, they are addicted to what they see on our social media and the movies and the rest, which is preventing adult improvement. Number three, I also blame the principals and actually the family units. Discipline is discipline. Discipline is discipline. When you are in discipline, we need to introduce gaming in schools. Yes. But I was game more than 100 times. That is why I'm very disciplined. That is why I'm in your council. I was thoroughly game. And that is one of the policies we should be looking at, so that we encourage discipline. We also introduce co-curriculum activities so that the students can find something to engage in. Taking a break from all the social media activities, breaking the culture of luxury and luxurious lives and whatever. And it begins with us. You can see my sister right here, actually on the social media one. Even a very important. Thank you, Mr.
You just mentioned couldn't be beginning to me. So this was today.
Yes.
It's not logical for a lawyer to say gaming is illegal. Who was not gaming? We don't grow fear. If I can manage to instill fear in you, you'll be disciplined.
Yes.
Yes.
When one is making a point of order, the one who brings the point should be seated. Honorable Speaker.
But you are standing.
Both of you are standing at the same time. Honorable Speaker, who is a silent account? I think this is
Yes, sir. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yes, we are being training. Okay, I will support my.
Yes.
We survive your honor. Okay, senior citizen. I want to put gaming. It can help solve this issue now. Will it help? At the moment, I would request one of our senior leaders to explain what is gaming and to educate our members here what was the reason to abolish it, because there was that of punishment. So currently there is an issue in university by gaming change. So
Honorable Speaker, I tend to disagree because scaling is a form of instilling not the punishment, it's fear, exactly. It's a form of instilling. But that is not the underlying condition in our high school. And let me point this out, Honorable Speaker, just a moment, that what is taking place, the school fire, if you look at it, there is no private school, even one, where there has been a school fire. There is no national high-level school with good infrastructure. The lake of Karana, the lake of Karana. Which one?
I want to disagree with my honorable member here about national schools. There is Miranda, this is Miranda, this one that is Western, a national school. Leave alone that. Yeah? there is this story of a national, a high school that had their own biological, something to do with biology, laboratory. The only one in Kenya, and that school was banned. So it's not about infrastructure or anything or high level. I want to agree with her. Infrastructure is key.
That's not about serious. Okay, when I was talking about this school, we are going to be jail. Now there is corporal punishment. You can
told to take a slasher and drink the fence, I'll be happy because I'll miss double chemistry question, double physics. So corporal punishments are good, yes, but people or students take them for granted. That's what I have.
I think members in this house don't understand what is called. In the Bill of Rights, chapter 4, human rights, that one is abolished because of what? For those who witnessed during the Moi era, the 1990s, if a student snatched one bucket of milk because it was the Mazua tribe, the Nyayo philosophy, the student would be paid. But if you understand what is called punishment, like for example, I use my friend Ken here. You can punish him when he's naked, if it is like especially in Alliance High School, in Alliance National School, that you can go to sleep in the graveside. Do you think that will solve?
Yes. To work for us, for you.
Yes, members.
So thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that. I would like, first of all, to say that we're not supposed to use remedy we used in the 20th or 18th century to handle situations which are happening in the 21st century. And again, I want to clearly indicate and disagree with Kenny in school and taking it back as a remedy for the current situation. Before I point out my view, I would like to also say that banning of school is totally wrong. And even if it is a response that you're getting from the students to what they are reacting back to, it is totally wrong. So we say that wrong is wrong, even if everyone is doing it. And right will always be right, even if no one is doing it. So what I'm about to say is that we need to work on the mindset of our high school students, because they understand that everything starts in the mind. And if I'm thinking right, I will be in a position to think right even when I'm making a decision on what reaction to give back to my society. Because at the end of the day, that is the school where I'm schooling. And even if I ban my dormitory today, where will I go back? I will still go back to the same school. It is in that same school that I want to achieve my grades. And it is in the same dormitory that I want to find it in a better situation where I can go back and rest after my daily duties. So what we need to say that Kenny will not even solve any bit of the percentage of what you're going through. What we need to work on is the total mindset from the society to the school to the family to the everything that you're having in our school.
Thank you, Mr. First of all, I'm listening to everyone talking about Kenny. Then I'm like, are you funny? Now, the kind of life we are living, even our bodies are very fragile. It's not about the other year. You know, I come from Rwanda and I eat pizza. What other kinds of food do you eating? Sausages, yeah. And then you are telling me to give me 18 strokes of, what do you call it? Yeah, whatever, the person one. That is, even if you train me, what is going to change? I have money. I can go and buy petrol and then we run the dormitories. What else do you need? Training is not a remedy for this. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Also, I want to say that those people who are responsible for the uncouth behavior of the students in the school is actually the society, the parents. The reason why I'm saying the parents, me as a parent, my mother there at home is the first teacher who should install discipline in me. The moment I'm disciplined and I'm disciplined enough, I'll be like, I want people to be thinking, my mind cannot be, let's say for instance, Mr. Speaker, you can't come and interrupt my mind with something very bad. Yes, I know the kind of parents I have at home. So, I'm wondering, the parents have gone to an extent, they don't have time for their kids. Parents are at work all day work. The children are left with the maid. They do all that they want. They watch what they want. And then they carry this mind, go with this to the school. and then they do whatever they want in school. Do you think it's right? I blame the society and I blame the parents. At the same time, the other thing that I also blame is the fact that there is no logic, there is no good form of disciplining students in school. Here I hear you guys saying there was no caning in school. Oh my God. In our school, you are to be shown the way. Because they are saying, because by the way, installing fear in those people is actually right. Me as Lynette, I never liked doing a lot of things. But when I remember, if I don't do math, I'll be failed. It will force me to do math. If I don't do this, I'll be failed. And the parents are very responsible for this because the moment the student is leaving school, where is this student going to? If you are my kid, well, now you are going to die. That's where are you going to? The parents are responsible, please, because you as a parent, your child has left school. To me, you have given this child the right to leave the school and go back wherever he wants to. The parents are responsible. Alex.
So sweet. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to voice my opinion. Roughly a year into the COVID-19 pandemic, close to half the world's students are still affected by the partial or full closure of schools. Therefore, making it necessary for the government or the Ministry of Education to prioritize in education recovery. This makes it very easy to direct or channel all the blame of the school's unrest on the Ministry of Education, but it's not the case. Haven't there been strikes before? They have been there, right? So we cannot say that it is the Ministry of Education. That's why I disagree with some members who say that it is the new system of education recovery that is causing the unrest. On the other hand, I'd like to support my fellow honorable member Wise, because yes, students should be punished. A suitable method or form of cracking the whip should be used in order to discipline the students. The society is not entirely to blame as well, because once you have raised your child in the right way, your child is going to join other students or other pupils from other backgrounds. What makes you so sure that your child is not going to divert from what you taught them?
Question is
students are banning schools, and one member said that it is their way of communicating or voicing what they feel, or maybe what they think, what's in their minds. It is wrong. That's another thing that I find to be a challenge. They are not using the correct means. As much as they are not supposed to be under pressure, as much as they are not supposed to be forced to maybe obey rules and use policies that are put in their schools, they are using the wrong means to communicate. So if they are taught, as I said, they are supposed to be guided on even better means of communicating or even voicing their thoughts. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I lies on 2 points, or 3 points. First of all of you will agree with me that our society right now have nationalized the use of violence as a means to meet our objectives. I want to pose a question to you. When teachers are demanding salaries, they go to the streets. True or false? When doctors want to increase their ranks, they go back to the streets. Today we saw what happened in Kisumu. Is it true?
yes.
The convoy for the deputy president, William Ruto, was stoned. So, sitting here and blaming children in school will not help. It is the software of
as Kenyans as a whole that has a problem. Because even you, Mr. Speaker, sir, you agree with me. When last year there was issues in this school, what did students do? We went to the site, true or false. So it is not the issue to the children. It is not the issue to the parents. It is our softwares, all of us. And we must change for good. The second point I want to say is that all the stakeholders of education are responsible for the lives that are in school. Parents will blame teachers, teachers will blame parents, the government will blame the school administration, the school administration will blame the parents. So it is like a toast and a toast and a toast and a toast. When, for example, I go to the government, there are so many projects right now the government is undertaking. For example, Nairobi Expressway, Standard Gauge Railway, and the rest, roundabouts. Over the 9 months, have you seen any project that is undertaken in our schools? For example, construction of more classes. Have you experienced any? But yet, the school is doing 100% enrollment of students. Where do you expect students to sleep if there are no dormitories? Where do you expect students to study if there are no classes? A small class, a square meter class, holding students like chickens. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to say the government is in one way or the other responsible for the school fires. Yes, that's around me to conclude. The second one is the parents. The parents, they are not giving the necessary advice to their parents, to their children. You find, for example, when I was growing up, for example, you could not touch a phone. Or else the phone that you get was a kababe. And in this case, the kababe even could not afford to get airtime. But as for now, Mr. Speaker, sir, you agree with me, a child of 3 years or so is operating an iPad.
Yes, time out. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and all Mr. President, sorry. I would just like to speak with you on what we call this unless issue. There are two subjects on board, two subjects in question. That's the government and the students in this case. You know, education thing is just a system. The system, from my famous definition, is just interconnected and independent. You understand? So it means that if we have the students demonstrating schools, burning out up the domes and the rest, it means that there's this part that has failed in this particular system. And that goes particularly to the what? To the government. In our times, when you are learning, after was an obvious thing. And in this case, you find that the government is now infringing the students not to having this particular what after. But you know, what is in the mind ever stays in mind. Years, decades, and ages. You understand? If a student knows that there is the way of that, in the 1, 2, 3, the student is saying that as a next step from having this particular degree, then the student will not understand. So the problem has come from the government. Two, the government also has now done away with what we call the punishment. They saw this rate that they call punishment. I don't understand it because in our times back, Kenya was something no more. But here, no more. I don't understand why the government is describing this thing as a corporal punishment, because this is the way to restore the student. And so the government has still to try to show their particular work, adherence to the work, this that students. And so, as second, students strike, have your rights now. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. A bit different. I want to blame the government, parents, and society. I blame the students because it means like get one school, I know a school, it's a band years. This year they are banned, next year they are banned. That way. So I blame goes to the school administration, not the parents, because no parent can tell his child, just go ban that school so that you can come. No parent can tell a child to go ban the school so that you have to. The government has tried all this, these people. The school administration is the one to blame. On the side of the budget punishment, corporate punishment is something that's very normal. Then the other types of punishment, like washing Sunday. To me, I support it because if you're not ready for that class of that, you homework, then go to that flashing. Thank you.
Maybe that's what you need. I think most of our members are just trying to support an issue which is safe. I would like to say this. There are more than 15 courses of strength in school in our sector. And also, there is, I think it is only on the website who have said the any strengths. How can you give it them? It is not that that is not the government. It's not a student. A school is like maybe even faster, second term, and even larger. It is really only the media not captured. So, for those who have done social sciences, there is deviance and norms. What is a norm? A norm is a set of rules. So, they are informal and formal. So, do you think it is the society which is wrong? And now the students carrying out the deviant behaviors in schools. That is a point of knowledge.
Okay, for me, one, I support my other members here who have said that parents are not the society to blame because they say man see man, do something to do with that what the students are seeing that you're doing today, they are retaliating back. But still, for me, and I think I need to be educated more. I think I blame the parents because when parents they teach their children, is what they are coming to do back. When you are bringing up the children, you are calling your child the government generation. This is the generation that you're seeing today. A child, when the child does something wrong, instead even of at least that child, you don't want to make that child feel pain. The truth of today, the parents of today are not calling the truth, or the lie. The parents of today, they want to do what the child wants. It's like the children of today are the ones who are dictating what their parents will do to them. You see that even when those who have striked, for me, I was in a school where the Kamamanda generation was there. There was a parent who was told that this child of yours is misbehaving in school. You know that father beat that girl. Instead of even telling her that you have done something wrong, the child was told, my daughter, don't worry, I'll take you to another school. And she was given a big hug, yeah? Because she has done something wrong. And she was told, don't worry, these people are against you. From that day, that child started behaving like the school is hers. The other child was a child that was being told, you're the only daughter I have, you have to do the way you want to do. That child, when they took her to hospital, she ran away. And when the parents came, instead even the parents asking the child a question, the parent was the child's side. So if that parent is showing the child what to do, what about the children when they go to school? That child could have gone, and that child, and I go to the school administration, that child could have gone to the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this chance. And today, I cried personally. I cried. I feel the pain when an honorable member condones the point where he would be proud of the child expressing himself by banning the school. I cry because the parents have taken because of the millions of shillings that Kenya loses on such accounts of banning of schools. I cry because of the many parents who hustle day and night to get that coin to pay the school fees for that child, only for you as a parent who is responsible enough to condone such activities. I also cry because I fail to understand why us
we don't focus on the student in particular. As much as we're seeing the student as a victim, the student also is to blame, because most of the people, the reason why most of the students I say engage in such the student arrest is maybe they lose the focus on the goals in their life. And maybe if they have the goals in their life, they choose to accept that the institution that they are in can offer, can engage them and help them attain their goals. I fail to understand how we overlook the statement that students are also to blame, because we as the students, per se, the high school students where such students and rest are, we fail to see that them themselves engage in such peer pressure that may lead to such effects. We fail to see that the students themselves engage in drugs and substance abuse that that can influence such accounts. I fail to understand why we overlook the statement where the defective educational system is also to blame. How come the government, they push the schools per se into covering a syllabus that could be done in 4 months' time into one to be done in a month's time? This causes pressure in order.
I'm very upset because today we are beginning that we have never been. You don't know the kind of pressure we have. Where are you feeling this? Where are you feeling this? We were once in high school. You know the kind of pressure.
Point of
No,
order.
we're talking about our border, point of
Point of order, Mr. Speaker, that is not a point of order, honorable member. Thank you.
I may resume. I hope my friend here will be knowledgeable enough for next time. But my last point on it, matters you focus more on corporal punishment. And I think we need to see this in a bigger picture. How come? Why bring corporal punishment to schools? Whereas the same government in which we are supposed to them to instill that corporal punishment in school. How come? Why aren't they, when they have done wrong? When let me say, when the officials, government officials squander money, why aren't we seeing them undergoing the same punishment? Why should we punish the child, the student, whereas we have not punished those who have the top seat?
Thank you, Mr. Chikasa, in the House at large. I'm very upset when sometime I had people telling my parents about when students begin the institution where they are. I'm totally blaming the government. Sometimes governments are the ones who make students undress. This is because of treating the school, making the camp to be like this compulsory to stay for 1 year without having a holiday. And the best solution that I'm just supporting one of the members say that training is a best solution. And I think training is the best solution sometimes because when the Bible says that God says that we should discipline your child. And I think there is nothing wrong when you discipline your child. And why we differ from the Bible that God says train your child to see the good direction. Even I passed at the level of high school, and I see that training
I think my friend is overlooking that there are some atheists in the school. Why are we only focusing on the Bible says?
So I can just suppose say that training is not a proper punishment. That is the best punishment that we can give to our students or our people. But the best remedy, the best solution that I can teach you is about to find out the roots that causes strikes or burning out of the schools or of the strike of this comrades. I can also say the best solution that will make this people the best solution that will make our children to stay in the school in a beautiful way is to regulate the administration to have a regular principal student meeting whereby the student can come and give up their needs so that if they can have a best solution on them to avoid these strikes every day.
All
and there's some views. First of all, I think everyone knows that we are in the 21st century. We must appreciate the fact that we are in the 21st century. We are in a digitalized world. We have taught our parents, the way my honorable member was saying, some of the students we are raising, actually, I was doing just a general view. I think a child who is in Form 1 now is a child who was born in 2007. I think we should appreciate the fact that we are in the 21st century. So,
in terms of so there's no okay. So yeah, about teaching, I know yes, because he's using the 21st century. But
I want, first of all, before I proceed, I think the issue about caning is a very serious issue affecting this house today. So before I proceed, I want to ask my honorable member who have just raised a point of order one thing. Does caning, will caning the student prevent the strike we are facing today?
it's the level. And then so dating is a one way.
Mr. Speaker, so let me just the speaker was raising my point, so you can okay. So the other point, the issue about Kenya, I think it's a very serious issue, my friend. So my honorable member said last year we striked KARATINA University. So we are supposed to be kings so that
It's a fact that in high school is categorized as a basic institution of education. We are at a higher institution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, my honorable members, for educating me that. So we can't pretend or we can't hide in a cocoon that we didn't go to high school. You know what happened in high school. Actually, Mr. Speaker was raising
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is not good for my health. This journalism. This is journalism. I say it was not good for my health. I only said it was not good for my health. Okay, let me proceed. We went school in 2016. I studied in Tangata Boys High School. We went school in 2016. When I was in Form 2. We went when I was in Form 3 and when I was in Form 4. And on the issue of gaming, there is no honor in sneaking out of school, going for the petrol to come and burn school, because it was not everyone. We were 1,400 students, and it was about 10 students who went for the petrol. There is no honor in going for petrol to burn school. That is awesome. That is why when we are talking about students, they are underage. They are not yet 18. So, and because when you are an adult or above 18, when you commit arson, there is a punishment for that. How can you tell me the UN defines corporal punishment as it's something against human rights? Why do we have death sentence in states like the US? What is that? So the whites should not define our methods of disciplining students. I'm done. Listen.
Yes, honorable. Yes.
Is it applicable? Is my time out? Yes. Are you
Somebody was giving you a last year as a speaker, that you can't give him 10 minutes as a speaker. So let the member conduct himself in the house. Let me contribute as a speaker because of my time. I'll just bring two people for the body and the indiscipline of students in high school. One, Mr. Speaker, is a parent. Number two, teachers in this manner. Mr. Speaker, when I was brought up, there was this name that my mother or somebody could give you bad names. Criminalized the name, Mr. Speaker. Labeling you as a criminal, Mr. Speaker. That reinforced character that has been kept being reinforced in your life, Mr. Speaker. You will end up adapting that you are a criminal and accepting the fact that you are a criminal, Mr. Speaker. Leave around that. Let us come to high school, Mr. Speaker. The backbenchers were the worst. So, Mr. Speaker, don't tell me if something was that is being planned in that school, the backbencher or those people who have been used defined by this name won't take place, Mr. Speaker. Why? They have been given a label, Mr. Speaker. So these two people, these two groups, the parents, the teachers, Mr. Speaker. Another thing to blame the teacher, Mr. Speaker. You can remember if you strike, there is a certain amount of money that you have been requested to come back to school with, Mr. Speaker. The principal of the school can insist the student go and ban. Why? Because he wants to benefit materially, Mr. Speaker. You can tell me a school that holds 1,700 students being asked to come in almost 1,500, Mr. Speaker, and they banned a dormitory, Mr. Speaker. This money is not accounted for. After all, if they finish repairing the dormitory, Mr. Speaker, why the rest of the money taken? These two people, yes, I'm concluding in fact. So these two people are to be blamed. If our students are to be reformed, let us not label them as criminal. Let us not take the advantage of the situation at hand. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And from what I can say and from what I've gathered is that this issue of school fires is on a case-to-case basis. Because one, there is an issue of indiscipline. Some people just feel they are uncomfortable in school, or rather, let me put it in quotes, kukaziwa, and then they ban the school. And that is a criminal offense subject to arson, or we refer to arson, which is the burning of property. So that means, and those people who are going to be liable for this are usually the parents, isn't it? They're the ones who usually pay. Two, mismanagement. There is mismanagement in schools in that there is miscommunication between the administration and the students. And that is why even some schools are banning because they feel their needs are not being considered. Three, infrastructure. Statistics have shown that in the average number of schools, the intake has increased from 100 to 300 students. Therefore, the studying conditions in some schools is unbearable. Therefore, the government should deal with this on a case-to-case basis. Those who are to be imprisoned, to be imprisoned. If the government is to be blamed for infrastructure, it has to hand out money for infrastructure. If the management is to be blamed for dictatorship, it also has to be dealt with perpendicular.
Okay.
I would like my honorable member here to explain the correlation between the increased number of students in high school and the burning of the school, Mrs. Speaker.
Let me explain. Statistics have shown that it has been a long period of time since the government has introduced new schools. The most it goes is introduction of, let's say, just a small kitchen, one classroom, a small dorm. Therefore, pupils are feeling there's a lot of pressure in schools and the studying conditions and even the living conditions are poor. But parents feel that boarding schools are better because generally, if you compare the studying levels or the studying conditions between boarding schools and day schools, you cannot compare them in Kenya. Definitely, if you can all agree on the higher side, boarding schools perform better. Thank you. Yeah.
And now, when it's to this side. Yes, Elijah, 1 million. Are you fair? You're not working. Now, there is a greatness to complain of the parents. There is no way you can blame the parents. It's just this. It's just as easy as it. As a speaker, I think in the very beginning, as a speaker, you can't be father about us, this and this. As a speaker, that's ungood. That's ungood. And we can't allow that. Especially to me. Thank you. Honorable member, the lady next.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. First and foremost, I'm nervous, but my thoughts to the topic of today is that I can maybe measure out 2 points. That first and foremost, there was a time I finished my KCSE this year around April, and I remember very well that there's a time that you went back to school second term alone, where all the other students were at home. So I can point out the point that miscommunication is a rampant case in the high schools, because the expression of the students to the administration is quite poor. Second, we homes are different, so we can find that there is the way this family expresses maybe their rules in their house and administering discipline to the children is different from the other house. So as much as a lot of people are saying that parents are workaholics, they are not so much concentrating on their children, therefore they tend to kind of misbehave in some way. We can find some families that there is so strictness in that home, whereby even the child has that fear to do something wrong, maybe because of the environment. When the child goes to school, the child meets with some peer pressures, some peers who maybe incite them into doing such things like burning of schools. Therefore, they kind of get the courage and the courage to do such things.
Keep your task and think about it is in the top house. Kindly request the response.
So thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like like to pose a question to the honorable members and ask ourselves, at what period of time do we have strikes happening in school ban in a year? Is this January? How many times have schools been banned in January? And how many times do we find these kills happening in around that time or in the course of October, November, December is we are approaching the end of the year? How many times? So in that case, I want to ask ourselves, what is special about that time? Or what is this that is so special about October, November in the school calendar? And in following that route, I want us to all agree that we have formed a formal routine, or that at the end of the year, or as we approach the end of the year, that these kiosks or schools have to go on strike.
But I think our honorable member is deviating from the question. The question is who is to blame. I don't think anything to do that is confirming to the question.
So I think I'm not done with my point. So, and I think I should be allowed to conclude. Thank you. So in following that route, I understand that what we can blame is the artificial routine that we have created in the mindset of our students, and also in the setup of the curriculum that we have, because you will never find school banning in January. So meaning that what we have created is a routine, it's a mindset that at the end of the year, students know very well that no matter how much we go, we have to ban the schools. And that is why my honorable member said that we have banned in 2016, 2017, and 2018. Why?
There is nothing like mindset, because while I was in high school, we banned school from 1 form to form 3. I'm sorry to say this, I was a victim and I was expelled from that school. Nothing
That is not a point of She has kept on repeating that we have created a mindset. We have done what? Now I want her to define what is free. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm in the best position to define that. The way we are talking about it, we are the society. That is why you are in high school, and today we're having people in high school. Tomorrow we'll still have people in high school. So the point is, even if the government, the society, and everything don't sit down to understand why we have created that a routine of having school banning during that time, so during that period of November, December, it will continue. And as much as we try, we will never come up with a solution.
Point of order. I beg to be corrected, but from the statistics I have, school fires and strikes take place mostly in second term. Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Let me educate my sister here, my honorable member, that curriculum has changed because of COVID-19, Mr. Speaker. And my honorable member here is referring according to the current curriculum that they're using.
Point of order. She has pointed out from statistics throughout, and actually it has been taking place in second term, except for these specifically academic years.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to say that things are changing. We are developing. As you can compare the 4 years of this year and the first years of this year, they are very different. As the same, you cannot compare the course that's there now and the people who are in high school, because the technology is advancing daily. So these people have phones. Some of them have phones in schools, and so they speak, they communicate that way. Now, there is peer pressure. Like the year this school has been banned, and so they say, let's ban the other school again. So there is that communication that is going between the schools. So there is peer pressure that is contributing towards the banning of the schools. Like when we were in high school, we could hear that this school has been banned, and so the other school will be banned again, because they want to be the same and they want to be uniform. So I'll blame the students for this issue,
Yes, thank you. I'll blame the students also. And I'll blame the church and maybe the school. Listen, I'll also blame the church. I'll also blame the church because when we were in high school, I used to get the pastors and maybe the counselors who are coming to address us. So most of the times this year, they have not been like.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to just point out that when the Ministry of Education reopened schools, it's allowed that students be allowed spiritual guidance. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I'm saying they don't let that cancel. These students will.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. The Minister of Education has said one job. Yeah, cancelled, Mr. Speaker. Don't blame the judge for something he doesn't have. Yes,
Mr. Speaker, a member is not allowed to speak unless the speaker gives permission. So you cannot come up and say, I have a point of order. I apologize.
Yes.
I apologize, Honorable Speaker. I just wanted to correct my fellow honorable member not to be biased, because we also have Muslims. Yes, so to be all inclusive. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, can I repeat the
The school normally, the banning movement takes place before or during an examination. So I think to some extent we can blame the exam coordinator timetable. You can find that the students are revising for 3 exams. So this one is based on an examination fatigue, which we are actually pressuring the students to do something in order to give us
idea. Our sergeant has requesting to drop out on our side for the
Because the exams are normally create an examination fatigue that some schools normally give students 3 exams, internal exams that they normally do. They do 3 exams per day, which is very difficult with the speaker. You find that you will find that even you, Mr. Speaker, you can't find some 3 exams to do it more. Thank you.
only the days we are using the honorable member. One was say for this one. Get now.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, point of order. Mr. Speaker, is it because I said that I support the Mr. Speaker? I have observed that since I said I support the banning of schools, I have been put aside. It's not fair. Is it racism or colorism? Tell me, tell us. There is something you are not telling me.
Yes, exactly. I know the
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. No, we are always in the order. There is no order. Yes, I know. Yes, yes, we start.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I want to contribute to this debate by saying there are four stakeholders in this matter, and I think I have to blame everyone: the government itself, the school administration, teachers being included, students, and the society. Why do I blame all of them? At the first point, students have to be blamed. Why? The reason being, before you strike or before you make this rash decision of banning the schools or destroying the properties, why don't you just think and reason? But why are you going after banning this? Who is to replace or who is to be contribute the destroyed property? So I also blame the students, to the administration from the school. Teachers have to be blamed. Why? Some teachers there in high school or in all schools have to be blamed. I blame them. Why? The reason why I am blaming those teachers is they want to implement these rules without involving the students. So, 10 seconds. Why do I blame this? I want to pass one thing. The 10 seconds in the so I want to. So, this has been an inheritance or something that has been continuing. All schools that have been going to strike, they have been striking since time immemorial. There are no new schools that are striking. So this thing has been there, and the school has been.
Point of order. The honorable member is misleading the hours. Give us facts. We need facts. He's talking out loud.
Facts, only 10 seconds.
Of facts. I'm saying this, where they come from. The schools that have been going to strikes since time ever. Those are the only schools that have been striking.
I want to concur with my honorable member who had pointed out that the blame is to be placed on parents. I think sometimes back we had some people complaining that the teachers are the ones just being left to by the parents to take care of the children in school. The parents are neglecting them, and therefore, as the education sector, which is supposed to be played by 3 stakeholders, only one stakeholder is playing his part. So that's why we are seeing the moral decay in our schools. So we can blame the parents for not disciplining their children, and we can take
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will be very fast. Okay, in this I blame very category of people. I first of all blame the government. I also blame the students themselves. And the biggest blame I'm raising is in the school management. I think everybody will agree with me that we were once in high school. And we know and we realize how students are treated in those schools. You may have a burning issue. Maybe my honorable member had raised an issue about food. Maybe the students are not receiving good tea. When the school captain approaches the school management, the thing is asked, what do you want us to do about it? No? So another thing, there is no clear communication between the students and the management. There is no a clear channel of communication. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I just want to continue from where I left. From where I left, where I was blaming the society at large. I'm still blaming the society and partly the school management. Blaming the society here, I'm blaming the parents. A parent doesn't know when his or her kid is leaving the house. The kid leaves the house in the morning and comes back very late in the evening. You don't know what this kid has been doing all along that time.
We had a 1 hour, 20 minutes debate. I think we all now agree who is to blame. Yes, if the government, the society, is it the school management, or now the students themselves. So before we conclude, I would like to just show of hands, first years in the house. Yes, thank you. Second years in the house. I think we need a house. Third years in the house. Our seniors in the years in the house. As we conclude, because our first years, we give them time to have and to enjoy the supper. I would like only to give one of our executives a chance, and then I invite our senior team. So I think the Secretary General is in order to give briefings of the club.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to appreciate all of us for your participation and for showing up. Secondly, I'd like to maybe urge you, you have seen how the debates are heated up. If we come early, we could do this thing early enough so that many people can have a chance to express themselves. I'd also like to I'd also like to remind you about our subscription fee. We have seen that the group is growing and we need to do more activities. We'll have elections, we'll have hike. So I'd like to remind all of you that for subscription fee, it's only 50 shillings, and if you have not registered, it's 100 shillings. 100 shillings is for some, if you pay 100 shillings, you will not need to subscribe for this semester. And we understand that this semester is going all the way to February. At this moment, I'd like to welcome our senior, our former secretary, to say a word, give his remarks, and tell us if he sees that the group is growing. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Good evening. Yes, my name is Chumba Manuel. As you heard, I was the Secretary General some years back. Actually, former Secretary and another one before you. Let me just start very late because I'm seeing progress. I think for the very first time, we are having our Kupssa meetings in a bigger way. I have never seen such a huge number on Wednesday for the place. Those who are the office bearers are really doing a good job. Secondly, I'd like to welcome the second years who are here and the first years who are here, because I've never been here since you joined the club. You are most welcome. This is where you realize your dreams. This is where it can make you to be who you want to be. And from experience and from what I know, and those I know, Kupssa can make you outstanding among many.
can make you stand out to be counted. I am who I am today, not necessarily in school alone, but outside school because of Kupssa. Kupssa made me who I am today, and I'm proud of that. So as you debate, as you engage, as you play various roles in this club, just know that it is making you a better person even without you realizing. By the time you realize you're already a better person. So I like to encourage those who joined us, the first years, the second years, and some of the third years who may join later. Talk to others. Encourage them to be attending these Wednesday meetings. It is of much importance to anyone who is doing political science, either criminology, or any other course, not necessarily social science. I'm so much happy to have joined you again. I'll be joining you on Wednesdays when I'm around. I'm committing that. And we'll grow together. To the executive led by Jack, this is positive energy. And I request the club members, let's also instill the positive energy if we want to see the club expand. And as I close, I think we have very many clubs in this school, and I can see Kupssa, the place is very outstanding. It's the most outstanding club. At least what we went through trying to build this club, we are realizing. God bless you. Thank
Just to develop some karibu kuna Kajere kuna project no rain out na ukiona sauti na pole na ni hebu sema hapo ndio hiyo ni makosa. I think Shadi Tangana. Yes, and then shout out to all our 20 tunauza mawaiti. Somebody then was the years na any person mwenye sijajua kwa this as I tell you, keep coming, let's keep our club growing. So I start first last meeting. I promised the member who will come with the largest mobilizer down there. And because the motto of Kupssa is to make change. So we want to make change today. One, as the executive do now, that one I personally attend, the executive pronounced itself. Mimi nitaongea 54. Lakini nayo plan inampigia sana kitu. Sio mtu akombea. Hiyo kitu anaenda akisoma. So and then hiyo ni mark. Kama ameleta watu 10, next time tukipeana zawadi tutapea watu wawili tuelekea wageni. Tutaleta more than 10. Is it okay? Yes, of course. Nataka niji hapo. So second year sawa ndo kuja wengi. Please, nao nani analeta watu wake? Ama kita. No, you are not there. Kama ulikuwa hapa for example, you are not against. So the new second years, unaweza tu hizo msimame and then you wait to the house. Kama ujai kuja hapa and you are second year. Now do it. Naona kuna pia
the debate was good and it's a pleasure joining you. We'll grow together.
Our sergeant the guns there you are get people to tell you how I said sergeant the guns there and say what.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, I would also like to thank you for attending this debate this evening. Yes, this is where we grow, this is where we feel impacted, so that it prepares to be good people to decide. God bless you.
Thank you. Now, I have only one concern. Only this. Like I'm saying here, I can see our past years. They are the Lord. I think they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Imagine you have 6 first years, but they have a number of 120. I think more than 120, more than 125. And then you have only 6. So I want to send each and every member here with an assignment. And this assignment there is not okay. It is the spirit of Kupssa. We want to gather here. If me Kipchumba would it have reached me out, giving me motivation, I couldn't be here. If now I couldn't now reach to Peter, he couldn't be here. The same Peter is good. So one for the years, hakuna for the anajua baba possible first year. It is logic because we are doing good science. We need yes. So we have a visa. Elias tunapewa first year. Yes, that's an assignment for the years. What a blend hours because it is because of all this idea. I think they will get lost easily. Me Kipchumba kuna and I usually say it here. Aliniambia in that group of Kupssa, one KARATINA hakuna theory. Hakuna hiyo ni ya tunafanya theory hakuna theory. Is it true? You may not hear. But if we tukikaa chini tuanze kushauri sijui hakuna field work, sisi tunajiuliza. So meaning Kupssa is a field work. It's a field work for political science students. So meaning because contend it is here we have to differentiate the naysayers out there when they argue that either Kashinda or Kashinda. It is this way. It is with facts. So kindly, wacha niliza huko nje. Mwambie kuja leo uone. Kwa first years wenye wako hapa. Hiyo ni assignment. Enda tu hata kama ni kwa class. Simama tu. Waambie the debate last time it was easy. Saa hizi first year mwenye amekuja these meetings, the 3 of them you have done. Tuwaweke level na first year je kuja hapa. Wewe ni lecturer. Una confidence. For sure, you can now be able. Last time we did something foreign policy. Tulijuma kwa when tunaona tunapita. Now today that we are education, the Ministry of Education policies, zina govern one TSC, tutaona ni walimu wanakosea, zina govern side yao. Na pia the policies made by the government since the G20 number. So it is this thing that they are now the outside class. So kindly the ideas here, the adults kwa hiyo tutafute wengi. Si ati sasa Kipchumba kutoka tutaachwa tu na exec wenye tuko hapa. Unaona? I would like us lead to a mtu mwambie yeye leo kuja. Alikwambia kwa busy kuja for 30 minutes and then akikuja hapa huwezi toka the debate is like this here. Yes, akikikatuni hiyo. Then akina peace. Second years najua ametorosha kina Daro. Tunawasalimu sana. Kita continue that. Nilisema class reps are the coordinators of groups. So not unless a class rep afanye kazi. So najua first years again when you go to student of first year hapa no mkono tunaita kitu hiyo class rep analala. Kama hata last time alikuja akitoka. I think we can work with this one. Even though the class rep hapo huyu jamani yeye nao hapa sasa. Is it true? Today at the meeting is not a class rep kumwambia lete watu wakuti. But if without knowing the first years na kimalizia Kupssa is a student leader. Na sio lazima student leader ukwe SDC. That clarify. Student leader sio kumaanisha ukwe SDC. You are leader in your own capacity. So yes, it is true. It is true. It is true by the way. So we end with that.
Just finally, something I forgot. What just close. I think I forgot to mention this. Units, Elias, and Will, congratulations. I met to the Electoral Commission, am I right? Yes. Congratulations. This is KARATINA, and I'm proud of that.
Yes. Yes, Ili muone Kupssa is a brand. Kupssa is a brand. All SEC members, SEC members 2021, 2022. Yes, ana tuwapea chance sema jina. Elias and other people.
Shall be overseeing the election.
Hi everyone, my name is Eunice. I'm so excited to be having there. And it was tough. I'm telling you guys, you need to apply that. It's tough, actually. It builds your confidence. That's mama to kumi, and you don't get shaken. So, guys, mjitume hiyo kufika. Kina Pato, kina Jackson, mjitume. Oh, Jackson is still together. Pole, mjitume, sawa?
So, finally, unawaambia wanasema niko na kitisho. Siwezi hapo niko. Kuna aspirants wako hapa. Sisi wai. Wasana wote aspirant kwa area simama. Just on me and name yenda. Na name kidoke hiyo. Nini sana. Yenda.
Okay, on behalf of Martin and Brian, Martin will be standing in for the Kupssa Secretary General, and I have a camera on Brian, the General, will be standing in for the Kupssa Chair. Please support us. Thank you.
My name is Kupssa Meeting. I'll be going for the Director of Gender Special Needs and International Relations.
Good evening, I'm Peace Man. I'm going on behalf of the political scientists, second years, I'll be heading for the Secretary General
I'm in fourth year. I think when time comes, I try for the position of student president. Thank you. Okay, even though my fellow here is a friend, he has just talked on behalf of me, and I thought it is also wise for me to stand before you and introduce myself so that you can get well, you can be acquainted with my voice. So I personally, as he has said, I'm Kavenrad Otieno. You call me Ryan. I'm going for Kupssa chair. May you support me and may we be
Yes, Kupssa is a home for all. Like, and those things are breeding ground. Whatever. Size is easy. So we give them a platform, and also our aspirants pia huko mimi nawaambia ukikuja hapa tuchiki kidogo. Najua hakuna pesa lakini hata kama ni subscription. Yes, now hapo naongea kama active chair. Yes, finally mimi namalizia na hiyo Jackson anja. Nimekuwa rea hadi mahali nimefika na Kupssa. Yes, I've been up to now pia mimi class sports. Yes, engine mimi siongei sana. Yes, finally to yes, as we pray, Peter is in the spirit.
Okay, let's pray in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, I come before you. Thank you for the gift of life you have given each of us. Heavenly Father, thank you for this moment. Thank you for the debate. Thank you for everyone, Heavenly Father. Oh Lord, we pray for each and every person, Heavenly Father. Bless us individually, Heavenly Father. Those who are aspiring, Heavenly Father, breathe them, protect them, and guide them, Heavenly Father. Help the spirit of Kupssa to grow inside us, Heavenly Father. May you motivate other members, Heavenly Father, because we believe that we are the one who are the chosen generation, Heavenly Father. We pray this believing and trusting. Now with the grace. It doesn't matter.